Morning, brother. How are you? Good morning. So the chop continues. We had payrolls come out this morning. Hate this market. Yeah, we're pretty coiled at the moment. We've been stuck in a really tight range for the last month. We've been in a broader, choppy range since October. Kind of like I mentioned yesterday, I personally want the market to go down so we could kind of reset the deck. But at the same time, a lot of people already have downside protection. So when people, kind of get out of some of that downside protection, it creates a little bit of a buffer. It's a liquidity add to the market. So the market just doesn't really go down in a straight line. You've also had plenty of stocks already get absolutely crushed. So kind of makes it, dude, it's just choppy. Trust me, man. I don't think nobody wants this market to go down more than me. But I'm trying to also find reasons to remain optimistic in case things turn up. I'm not just like super stubborn saying, "Oh no, the market can't go up, can't go up." It's got to roll over. So yeah, kind of, it's an annoying market for sure, but also don't mind me, guys. I'm just a touch under the weather. I'm out here drowning myself in Dayquil, NyQuil, Cepacol, emergencies. Ugh, hate being sick. Yeah, that would be the way to get involved in this stuff. I personally passed on it, but if you're gonna take it, then you even get this gap down in the market. And worst case scenario, you're effectively flat this morning. You took five positions with 2% each, GEV, CCJ, but then they might most of them close most of them. Oh yeah, well if you don't have enough cushion to hold them overnight, then you just get rid of them. I don't personally mind the way you did it. You take a bunch of teeny tiny little positions, you like cast a wide net, and then maybe something sticks. Like I had AppLovin yesterday on a short too, and then I stopped it out, just not enough cushion to be able to hold it overnight, and whoops. Yeah, SPHR looks great. It tends to trade a little bit with a bigger spread. Not really a name that I would trade when the market's chopping down. But if the market can kind of get its act together, this is, one of the first few names that, you'd go wanting to look at. Not first few, but if you can get a little bit of traction on another name or two, then SPHR is a name that's definitely buyable. RYAN, you don't actually want me to comment on this one. You don't want me to tell you anything about RYAN. Am I holding any longs at the moment? Yes. VLO and XOM. I have XOM from 117. I have VLO from 184. BATL, yeah, nuts. But I'm not too concerned about it because I'm not going to be trading it. What do you think about Allstate? Yeah, I'm also not going to be trading this one. Just going sideways for a real long time. Insurance names could go higher, but nothing really sexy about owning insurance. Yeah, if the market stays heavy, I will be watching names like Palantir at declining moving averages. I will be watching a name like AppLovin again off the 200. I tried shorting it yesterday. I lost money on it. I just couldn't hold a flat position. Well, it wasn't really flat. I was red on it. I couldn't hold it overnight with the way it closed. And then now you're gapping down effectively below my initial entrance. That's just trading. So I'm not too worried about that. But yeah, I thought AppLovin against the 200 was a pretty nice idea. You're in DOW. Very nice, dude. Very nice. And gapping up more today. Beautiful. Yeah, Caden, this isn't something that I don't like to think that far out ahead, because who the hell knows where it'll be in 2-3 weeks. I don't want to pigeonhole myself and tell you, yeah, it'll in 3 weeks it'll pop or it won't pop. I have no idea. Right? Let's just deal with things one day at a time. How does it look like after today? How does it look like after Tuesday next week? How does it look like after Friday next week? Is the group acting well? Is the market shaping up? What's my entry tactic? How much do I, how much money do I use when I go to get involved in this thing? How do I plan on trimming some? How do I plan on trailing some? Let's get your mind to start thinking about the questions that truly move the needle on your portfolio. Me telling you about my thoughts on a potential pop in 2 weeks, who gives a shit about my opinion on a potential pop in 2 weeks? Literally. And so I want you to get your mind away from that, because that's not going to make you any money. I don't really like ONDS, dude. There's something about this company. I just, they diluted kind of like IO and Q did one time, and it was like so unfavorable to like their shareholders. I thought they're like it's like one of the scummiest things you can do. Like, they raised such peanuts amount of money just to dilute shareholders in such a huge way, and then like create such big shareholder value for the person who was giving them that money. I just don't know about this company. You're in from 10, great. I just don't know how I feel about them. Yeah, hopefully this market's willing to rip off the Band-Aid. How would I look to exit AVGO short if taken from yesterday against the 50-day? Well, I would look to cover some into weakness, right? And then just trail the rest on the declining 50-day if that's where you took your entrance. I'm in from 347, and I've covered along these last handful of days. And for now, I'm just hanging out. I'm just hanging out. PLTR, I don't really, I don't. There's just a question mark attached to it. I don't know if you just want my opinion on it, or if you've got a question attached to it yourself. Go ahead and just chime back in, think, and let me know what you're thinking. Because for me, I don't think that it's a long. I think it's a short. But I think that maybe your opportunity to short was yesterday, right in here. Do I like the setup on EYE? How thin is this name? 36 million bucks. I personally can't trade it myself. Think it's a little loose. I'd like to see this right-hand side of the chart tighten up a little bit here. You mentioned the 200 MA a lot and the 50 MA a lot. And yes, price is bullish above the 200. It's bearish below. Now, if you get extended in either direction, it could be shortable. It could be a washout long. But yes, I mentioned it a ton because it is very important. It's the underlying trend. Yeah, I think if the market's going to roll over, then it could very well make for a short off the 50-day. RCAT, yeah, a drone name. Yeah, I mean, I don't hate the way this thing looks at the moment, but there's one thing I'll say with RCAT on these like more speculative names, right? Like names that don't have a lot of that don't make any money, that they don't make any money. I would be a little bit more cautious on them until you can gain traction on 2, 3, 4 other stocks. I'll look at FinViz. I'll look at DeepView. I'll look at my own theme tracker where I built in fundamentals. You kind of need to have a quick reference to where you can look at them. SanDisk breaking yesterday's lows. You're seeing small cap semis pop. Which ones, if you don't mind me asking? Which is your mental process to choose? It's not about a mental process. It's about where I can limit risk, right? So like AppLovin, you want to know why I chose to short this one yesterday? Because at the time when you ran up all the way to 510, it was against the 200-day. And then so I'm just looking at this thing breaking down. And so I go to short when you're losing VWAP with my stop basically at highs. The way it closed yesterday got me out, so I didn't hold, some kind of a gap up overnight in a strong market. Of course, the market had other plans and is now rolling over. I'd be green on the position. But again, holding something overnight is a little tough. So ultimately, it just comes down to right idea potentially on AppLovin, wrong timing. But it all comes down to how I can limit my risk in case I am wrong. Right? I was right on AppLovin, but I was a little bit off on my timing, or the market just didn't allow me to, get in and hold it how I would have liked. And the market chooses to do that from time to time. Right idea, wrong timing, not a big deal. Unlike, let's say, an AVGO, which is one that I've been short for a while, and I've been short against the 50-day for a while. So how are you noticing, like, what are your entry tactics, right? I in this environment, buying breakouts, shorting breakdowns has not been working. So it's been shorting into strength against declining moving averages or into supply, and then buying undercut and rallies if you want to play like a short move back up. No, I wasn't able to hold my SQQQ a few days ago. It knocked me out. Whatever day this was, the 25th last week. I was in Mexico when I got stopped out. Well, if you're paying attention to ONDS and then you see the news, you got to read through the filings. People don't really like to do that work. Instead of reading Stephen King novel, I read filings for horror movies or horror readings. No Stephen King for me. I read company filings. Yeah, that's about the best way I could put it. Yeah, I mean SKYT's been going up. One name, two names. I mean, look, it's should have some earnings, some growth in earnings. I mean, they make money. They have some revenue. Generally, do I enter using a opening range break or a 620 setup? Yeah, generally. Or a break of the range, or a break of prior day high. I don't know that I would fade circle EP. No, I don't think so. This would be a name that I would hope that the market can kind of drag down and then tighten back up so I can get long eventually. Rocket Lab, yeah, there's nothing to do with it. It's just stuck in a range and it might break the bottom part of this range at some point. Do I trade Success? I do. I'm not right now at the moment, but I do trade it. There's no setup on any at the moment. A little extended from the 50, but nice to see it potentially go. LBRT, I thought this one was better from in here. Not as extended from the 50. Yeah, fine. 620 setup is where your 6-period moving average crosses above your 20, and you're looking in areas of confluence to manage your risk from. Like if you see a stock coming into daily support, but then it starts to turn up on a smaller time frame. The smaller time frame is your entry. The bigger time frame is where your idea is generated from. It's look, for a moment, and there's a lot of great books out there. I give you book recommendations if you want them, but put the books down for a moment and let's think about how you'll better be prepared for the next big bull market. Right? What you need to do is you need to go back over the last 3 years, use AI to your advantage, use Gemini, use whoever, and generate a list of all of the companies over $1 billion market cap, right? At least 1 billion, right? That'll still be a ton of stocks to study, and that have made the biggest moves over the last 3 years. Okay, since the October of 2022 lows. So from October of 2022 until the chop started October of 2025. So for the last those 3 years, what are the biggest stock market movers in terms of market cap and in terms of percent increase? So you'll have like 2 lists, some of them will overlap. Then you're going to take those charts, zoom out on them historically, and you're going to look at a name like NVIDIA, and you're going to find the spots where you say to yourself, where could have been an entry based on things that I've learned from either myself or a Christian Koulamagi or a Dan Zanger or a Mark Minervini or a Pradeep or a David Ryan or whoever, right? Like any of your favorite traders under the sun. And then say, what was the technical setup? Where would I have bought it? Where I would have seen very little or no red at all, right? Because what makes a stock easy to hold is not seeing any red at all, right? So that's a really good starting point. And then you take it a step further. You say to yourself, at the time of the breakout, did the stock have a catalyst? Did the stock have good earnings and sales? Was the stock in a particular theme? If it was in a particular theme, what was that theme? What was that group? And then you take it another step further and say, were there other stocks in that theme and in that group that were also going higher? Right? And you can read all of the books, but nothing's going to beat you going back through the charts and studying what the setups looked like before they went on big runs. What was their earnings? Did they have accelerating earnings? Were they in a good theme? What was the theme? What was the market doing at the time when this stock was setting up? Was the market in a downtrend? Was the market consolidating? What was the relative strength like on some of these names? Like some of these questions you have to ask yourself. People don't like necessarily doing that work because it is long work. Like everybody just wants to, read a book and then think you've got it. But the best material you can put together for your own brain is to literally go through the biggest winners in the stock market over the last 3 years and figure out how they set up, what theme they were in. Did they have a catalyst? What was that catalyst? What was earnings and sales like? What was the technical setup? If you missed this technical setup, what was the next one? If you missed that one, what was the next one? If you missed that one, what was the next one? If you missed that stock entirely, could you have bought a different one? All of these things are really, really important to be able to answer. And that's how you become a much more competent trader, recognizing things before they ever really happen. It's how I got myself into ExxonMobil before it broke out. Right? It's how you end up getting low risk entries. So, best day to short was yesterday. Yes. I talked about it yesterday. I talked about if you're going to short, and I talked about it the day before. I talked about it, I want to say it was on Tuesday, I want to say, or Wednesday. And I said, hey, if we can get another little push tomorrow, into these declining moving averages, that would be the place to short. And of course, AppLovin was 100% on my radar as a name to short. Unfortunately, I just, I couldn't hold it. This push knocked me out. So ate my little lunch and moved on with my life. Same approach with a 6K account. I think people with a 6K account think that I would tell them something differently. Like, oh yeah, be a day trader and make your money day trade. Like that is so much harder than swing trading, right? So much harder. And so what I want you to do is I want you to forget about growing your portfolio. I want you to grow your knowledge base. Because if you have a 6K portfolio, you're not ready to start doing what I'm doing full time to support your family. And that's fine. You have to have a job. No big deal. But in the meantime, you need to study. You need to increase your knowledge base. And then all of a sudden, once you understand what you understand and you're not blowing up your $6,000 portfolio and you're making a little bit of money, you can then add to your portfolio slowly from your job. You can add to your 401k and eventually trade it yourself, right? But you know enough to not blow yourself up. It depends. It honestly depends. There are times that I trade super liquid names. So most of the time I do just market order. If I need to route my stuff, sometimes I'll just use smart routes. There are times I'll just send it to an exchange like Arca or EdgeX, but very rarely do I pick my exchange or my route to execute an order. Very, very, very rarely do I do that. A smart route or a market order for me, or I'll just limit order, right? I don't have to route my orders for anything. It's super rare that I'm taking I'm not normally trading cheaper names to begin with. So I don't have to hide size, right? I'm not buying, 300,000 shares of a $2 stock or anything. Right? I find myself trading Tesla sometimes or more expensive stocks ExxonMobil's got all the liquidity I needed to get 20,000 shares, right? It trades billions of dollars a day. What do I think about TERN? Holding up great. Just kind of wedging higher. The only issue that I see with the TERN is the PPH pharmaceutical started to fall apart a little bit yesterday. So maybe I don't know because I don't trade options, so it would maybe take a competent swing trader to be able to do something like that. Is it possible to take my stock trade alerts and convert them into option calls, puts around 30 to 60 days out? Maybe. I have no idea because I don't trade options, dude. So I don't really know how to structure them well enough that can become a profitable trade. What do I think of oil EPs? Well, EC is not technically an EP setup. It's just a gap up, or it's just a good push on earnings. An EP is usually like this neglected name that then has this large, massive gap up, right? Neglected name that then has a big, massive gap up. EC doesn't really fit the bill. It's just a good earnings push in a stock that's already in an uptrend. How do I keep my psychology intact? Means supposed to one stock is back to stop loss hit, then you can take a third trade, same stock. Yeah, I mean, you just got to understand that sort of shit happens. And the reality is, it's like if you get stopped out and you got to go after it again, and you get stopped out and you got to go after it again, and you get stopped out and you got to go after it again. If you're getting stopped out multiple times, you probably should ask yourself this question: why am I getting stopped out so much? Am I even in the right environment for this type of entry that I'm taking? Like if you get stopped out on a quote unquote breakout, and then it stops you out. Then you try to buy the breakout again, right through the same level, and then it stops you out. And then on that third time, you got to ask yourself, am I really supposed to be buying a breakout in this environment, March 6, 2026? The answer is probably no. And you need to change your entry tactic, right? So I haven't really been buying breakouts. I've been buying pullbacks into ascending moving averages. I haven't been shorting breakdowns. I've been trying to short into supply. I think that's much better advice. You can definitely take something a second, a third, and a fourth time if the setup is still valid and we are still in a healthy environment, etc. But then that's where the other layer of the cake comes in, which is you have to use proper position sizing. That way, those first two stops, they don't do much harm to you anyway. So yeah, I was watching LITE back then. I actually thought this setup down here on LITE was also really good. I was just hopeful for a little bit more sideways, but obviously hindsight should have taken it. And then this pullback here against the 50-day was just absolutely gold to buy January 27th. I didn't take it though. And look at how much easier this entry is to hold versus trying to buy a breakout. Buy a breakout, you get your ass kicked basically. Thanks, Oz. Yeah, I try my best. XLRE. Not a bad little setup. Real estate. The real question is, it's holding up well. Where do we buy it? Right? Do we just, play this as a reclaim of the 20-day because we are gapping up or a little bit below it? I mean, I think people can get to $1 billion. Think about Short Bear, how young he is. I think Lucas $1 billion. I think if Lance really wanted to, he can get to $1 billion. I think, if I trade 30 more years, I'll for sure be there myself. So, it's just a matter of showing up every day. There will always be opportunities long and short. So you just got to show up every single day and yeah, getting to once you surpass 10, 15, 20 million, the ball really starts to roll in terms of money. So but forget about the money. The money only comes to those who have the knowledge. You have to build up your knowledge base first and not lose money in an environment like this. A little pat on my back. I haven't really been losing money in an environment like this. I haven't been making tons of money, but when the market changes for the better, I'll be prepared with all my money to go and make a 50% portfolio move in the blink of an eye. Silver short kind of weak. Yeah, I'm short GDX myself. So I'm not really too worried about it. I covered some off yesterday. And for now, it's just a matter of just letting it work. So I have half of my position left from 115. I'm thinking we can go to 92 and a half and then eventually 85 and then maybe the 200-day at some point. Not sure if that'll actually happen, but at this point, I've already been paid. It's got my month started off in the right way. So yeah, I mean, possible for it to just keep going lower. How long do I typically hold my trades? My stats last year say 20 days. Let me triple check that for you, and I'll tell you in a second. So, last 12 months. Let's go. Last year, my stats say I held my trades winners 21 days, losers 1 day. And I made about 4x on my winners versus my losers. Actually, I take that back. I made about 6x my winners versus my losers. I started with 30,000, but I quickly grew that in the hottest environment ever. So you kind of gotta, like, the first 18 months of my career were effectively a rocket ship straight up. I was super aggressive. I didn't know what the hell I was doing. I was just scalping sympathy plays. You know, I almost can't believe that I made that kind of money when I first started, but it had to do everything with the environment and nothing to do with me being super bright or smart, just being aggressive and trading in the right environment at the right time. No, there is no a UNR. There is no 5-minute opening range break on a UNR. A UNR, you use a 620 setup. CBRE, this looks absolutely disgusting. Correct. Yeah, you always have to use progressive exposure. Always. 24/7, 365. It does not matter. If you're in a really good market, you can get exposure up very, very quickly. But you get more exposure behind good money working for you. You go and get more behind shit that's already working for you. That's how it works. That's how you keep yourself safe. How to find that we are in a healthy environment? Yeah, well, it's very easy. When you use progressive exposure, you go and get a stock. It works for you. That allows you to go and get another one. That one works for you. That allows you to go and get another. That one's working for you. And then another, and then another, and then another. And all the while, your universe list is massive. Your ready list for the next day is very clean and constructive. You're seeing stocks gap up on earnings. You're seeing things follow through. The markets are out to new highs. Stocks are out to new highs. Charts are all in their upper right-hand corner. That's how you know. You're running out of money. You have to trim down your slowest stocks to go and buy more and turn over your edge because there's just so much edge to be had. That's how you know you're in a healthy environment. How much do I decide to trim of my position? Depends the environment that we're in. There's never one answer to that question. Sometimes it's 10% of my position. Sometimes it's 30%. Sometimes I get rid of half by day 3, and then I just let things work. Ultimately, the market kind of guides me, and I wish there was just like a fixed answer. But like a stock, for instance, like AOI, in 8 days can move 140%. I would just exit the entire thing. Correct. And I have a 36% win rate. Yeah. So my average winning trade's 122,000. My average losing trade's 19,800. So call it 6-1. My win rate is 36%. And that's why I'm a profitable trader. And about 35, 36, 40%, somewhere in there is call it 35 to 40 is roughly like my career batting average. Oh, you meant CDRE. Little choppy, but earnings are coming up a little too soon, so better to leave it alone. Oh, yeah, when I talked about how good 2020 was, it was honestly insanity. It was honestly insanity with how good it was. Every morning you'd wake up, there'd be a couple 100% gappers. You would just literally buy a pullback into prior day high. You would just scalp it. There'd be like infinite liquidity. You could sympathy trade all day long. right? Like you would see SPI go up like from $1 to 46, and then I would just be sitting there with my whole account just hammering away on Sun W, and then that thing would go from $1 to 4 in the same day. Oh man, it was just literally raining down money on every idiot that ever walked across planet Earth choosing to click a button. And I just happened to be part of those idiots, just like sitting there getting themselves stupid rich without knowing a damn thing. The difference was the market started to get a little bit tougher at the end of 2021. I started to follow Christian Koulamagi, and I was like, this dude's making millions of dollars in the month. I am not. I'm making hundreds of thousands of dollars in a month. He's making millions of dollars in a month. That's where I was like, I need to learn how to swing trade. I watched him. I watched Pradeep. I watched Mark Minervini, Dan Zanger, Pat Walker. I learned how to short. I mean, just over time. And then, I had already built myself a nest egg where I was able to kind of put the brakes on things while the market was really shitty in 22 and do what you guys should be doing right now, which is studying how things move so that when things got easier at the ends of 22, I was ready for NVIDIA when it got back or near the 200 simple moving average. I literally owned NVIDIA at $167. So like my career started off in an awesome way. And then I sat there and I studied so that when the market finally turned, I was ready to go. So guys, I can't actually stay too much longer. Normally I stay till 8:20. I got to get off the desk 10 minutes sooner. I actually got to go and let the ducks, the chickens, and the peacocks out. I wish I were saying that like as a joke, but I'm actually being serious about that. I was supposed to do that earlier in the morning, but I slept in about 30 minutes normally, a little later than I normally do. How much weight do I give to the fact that the QQQNS is in the red? I mean, I don't give it tons of weight. I just, I don't give it tons of weight because I'm not really going to go chasing a gap down at the moment. If we can get like a little bit of a morning push and then a failure, then I'll get short a couple things. Otherwise, I'm just going to let GDX short work, and I'm just going to let my AVGO short work. Yeah, probably a lot. There are probably a lot of people who only trade, one particular setup, but that's okay, right? What did they say? Jack of all trades equals the master of none, right? What did Bruce Lee say? I'm not afraid of the man who's practiced 10,000 kicks one time. I'm afraid of the man who's practiced one kick 10,000 times, right? So there is some truth to just being really good at one thing. But I also understand that one thing doesn't only work in different market environments. You do need to expand the tool belt. Trading is a little bit different. So, yeah, there's just some thought to that as well. Who lets the chickens and the ducks out? I let the chickens and the ducks out, man. And I do. I free eggs. I have free eggs, and we have peacocks. So, yeah, I gotta let the animals out. Normally, I do that every morning, but I slept in a little under the weather. That's why it was the first thing I said. But I got to get my butt moving. I will see you guys Monday morning. Awesome questions today. Thank you guys. Hopefully, you guys have an awesome weekend, and I will see you guys on Monday. I love that. Who let the ducks out? Who? It'd be quack. All right, we'll talk to you guys on Monday. Have a good one.